Accra is a very interesting city. It's a place where they can bring the market to you right in the middle of the streets. Today, though, I want to talk about something else, this mini truck and how it was designed and built here in Ghana and why it was loved all across Europe. But what happened next might surprise you. My name is Kofi Daniel, and I would like you to subscribe to this channel and join me on this short journey. Because to really grasp all of this, we need to go to the beginning of the story. And for that, we have to travel from Accra to Kumasi in the Ashanti region of Ghana, where it all started. Right here, in the vast informal cluster, in a place they call Swami Magazine. This is said to be the largest industrial cluster in sub-Saharan Africa, with over 12,000 car-related shops and workplaces. For many years, this place has been where second-hand cars are given new life by the 200,000 men and women that work here. So one day they decided to build their own cars. The plan was to build a utility vehicle intended for use in the rough terrains of Africa. A vehicle that could be used for multiple functions, like for example, it could be a tow truck, a lorry or freight truck, and even a community taxi. In many rural parts of Ghana where roads are often in bad shape, this would come in handy. It would help ease the supply of food from farms in these rural places to the cities where food prices can be very high because of how these bad access roads obstruct the free flow of food. But unlike the automated and advanced car building and assembly lines you would find in other places, these artisans had no infrastructure to begin with. So about 30 of them got together and decided to build an entire truck by hand. This was kind of like trying to cook on a coal pot on a wet day instead of a gas stove.
Let me try. Let me try. I didn't say.
Watch your fingers. I don't mean look at it. I mean be careful. And the one under.
I'm gonna get it.
Ah, but what's this? Well, this bucket over there. Let's get it better. Get off there. Off the floor.
Off the floor.
No, put it down.
Is it off the floor?
It is tedious, slow, and hard work. And the time it takes you to light the fire could even exceed the time required to cook the actual meal. So it was something like that. But these people kept at it, and they eventually built their first car from scratch in 3 months. The result was a squat, solid, heavy-duty truck whose performance exceeded expectations, and the project in the end became a collaboration between the artisans, the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, and the foundation from the Netherlands. Now, the Dutch government and other agencies also took an interest in it. So all of this interest, it's safe to say, was because of the potential that they saw in the project. And they were so impressed with it that they actually invited the car for a promotional tour and exhibition across countries in Europe. This promotional tour took them to places like the Netherlands, Germany, France, and other places, and the car was featured in several events, fairs, and exhibitions. Now, in the Netherlands, this truck was further tested, and it was tested at the Dutch Vehicle Registration Authority Test Center in Lelystland, and it turned out to be the first African vehicle to be tested there. The name of this Ghana-made, handmade utility vehicle and truck is the Turtle One. Now, these are some of the comments passed by the examiners and inspectors of the vehicle. Quote, "The Turtle One shows the strengths, vitality, and possibilities of the Swami magazine as a place for car manufacturing and the potentials of another African car." They went on to say that this is not a European, American, or Asian car, but a truly African creation. And these are some of the advantages that they pointed out. That the car was able to perform heavy-duty tasks, and it's completely mechanical, and so it could be repaired using simple tools. They also said that it is robust, strong, and functional, and that it was so solidly made that it could last for very long. So before the tour ended, the Danish International Development Agency, also known as DANIDA, came in to adopt and fund a new industrial estate to mass produce the Turtle One truck here in Ghana. But they laid out two conditions for that to happen. The first condition was for the builders to acquire a 1,000-acre land for the project. And the second condition was for the government of Ghana to pledge its support to the project, including counterpart funding. Well, suffice it to say that that did not happen. The strangest thing is that the land could not be secured, and the counterpart funding from the government of Ghana is said to not have materialized. If this is true, well, let me say something here, and I have said this before, that way back in the 1950s, Ghana produced its own cars called the Pachio, and it has so disappeared that I could not find any picture of it. And then in the 1970s, Ghana produced the Adom and Boafo car brands that were all over the streets of this country. Again, we do not see them anymore. Now let's look at this. Way back in the 70s, a similar initiative was playing out in a country called South Korea. But the approach of the South Korean government and the results they had was totally different. The South Korean automobile industry is a global success. It is one of the top 5 largest car producers in the world. South Korea is a tiny country, less than half the size of Ghana, with nearly double the population of Ghana competing for that small space. So you would have thought that Ghana would have more advantage and a better chance at success than South Korea. But that's not what we see, and this is why. According to some experts, the South Korean government, as far as the fledgling car industry was concerned, had vision, and it played a decisive role in fostering its automobile industry. And these are the facts that in the 60s to 1970s, the South Korean government pursued a deliberate industrial policy that funded, protected, and incentivized car exports. And this ensured that Korean car companies like Hyundai and Kia had the time and the resources to develop, innovate, and gain the skill necessary to compete globally. Now, in contrast, it is said that Ghana's leadership during the period when it introduced its own car brands like the Pachio in the 1950s and the Boafo in the 1970s was unstable and lacked a consistent long-term industrial policy. Those were the periods that Ghana had a string of coup d'etats. But some claim that till this day support for the domestic car industry appears to be inconsistent, with no comprehensive plan for infrastructure development, supply chain support, or export promotion. The Turtle One case is a typical example where two simple preconditions could not be fulfilled. Now, the South Korean industrialization was highly coordinated, with government directing resources toward the car companies and providing them with capital and shielding them from foreign competition, and all of this very early on. The South Korean state itself fostered technological advancements through research and development investments, education, and tech training, all of this to ensure that Korean engineers and workers were skilled and capable of producing competitive products. Now, on the other hand, it appears that successive governments in Ghana were unable to develop the necessary infrastructure to support car manufacturing. And so, early car initiatives like the Pachio and the Boafo did not stand a chance of scaling up to globally competitive industries. So whereas the South Korean government worked closely with automakers to ensure that they could penetrate global markets, including the offer of financing, successive governments in Ghana were unable to make any significant drive to sell its cars on the international markets, and the car initiatives were merely seen as symbolic, and this made it hard for local producers to sustain their operations and innovate further. Ghanaian car makers appear to be mostly on their own, with no significant support structures from leadership. It is this that has led, according to experts, to the collapse of early car making efforts in Ghana. And these experts have concluded that the failure of many of these initiatives in Ghana can largely be attributed to a lack of consistent and visionary leadership. So what is clear is that while South Korea pursued deliberate industrial policies focused on developing, protecting, and incentivizing car production, here in Ghana, over the years there was a failure to provide the necessary support for the growth of the auto industry. And that is why the Turtle One prototype remains hanging. The entire project to mass produce the Turtle One truck remains hanging after 11 years, even though the project has vast potential, as you can tell from all the interest and support that it gained from countries across the entire European continent. And this is the classic definition of a golden opportunity missed. So the same sad story continues about how leadership, or the lack of it, again proves to be the weakest link in the development of the global car industry in Ghana. I thank you for watching this, and let us meet up again in my next video. Bye.